I bought the book from an old estate auction online. It was listed as Masonic relic 1723. The leather cover looked almost alive, dark and cracked like burnt skin. I wasn't a collector, just curious. When it arrived, I noticed faint symbols pressed into the spine. A compass, an eye, and beneath it, a line of Latin I couldn't read. I should have stopped there, but curiosity felt like hunger. The first page wasn't in English. It was Latin mixed with symbols I'd never seen. But at the top, written clearly, was one sentence I could understand. "He who reads this seeks the light beneath the shadow." My chest tightened. It didn't feel religious. It felt like a dare. As I turned the page, I swore the letters shifted, rearranging like something was rewriting itself while I watched. At night, I dreamed of a stone hall lined with pillars. Men stood in robes, faces hidden, a triangle glowing above them. One of them raised a black-bound book and whispered, "Brother, the light awaits." When I woke, my hands were gripping the Freemason Bible. It was open on the same verse I'd seen in the dream. I hadn't left it that way. I hadn't even remembered falling asleep. I tried to find information online, but every search led to dead ends. Some said Freemasons used a secret text older than the King James Bible, called the Architect's Scripture. Only the 33rd degree members ever saw it. I thought it was folklore until the pages began reacting to touch. When I ran my finger along a line, the ink pulsed like veins. I dropped it in shock. That night, the book bled. A drop of dark ink slid down the edge of a page, slow and thick, like blood. I wiped it off, but it smeared across my hand warm. I could smell iron. Then letters appeared where the stain touched my name. My stomach turned. I checked again. The name was gone, replaced by random symbols. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe not. The next morning, I heard a faint whisper while pouring coffee. It sounded like my name again coming from the study. I froze. When I peeked inside, the book was open, pages fluttering, though the window was closed. The air smelled old, like dust and candle wax. The whisper came again, closer this time. "Brother." I slammed the cover shut. The house fell silent. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I decided to lock the book away. I placed it in a box, sealed it, and pushed it under my bed. That night, I dreamed again. The same temple, the same men. One of them stepped closer this time, removing his mask. His eyes were hollow, glowing faintly gold. "You've read the first verse," he said. "You can't unsee the light now." When I woke, the box was open. The Freemason compass symbol had appeared on my wall, drawn in what looked like ash. I didn't do it. I scrubbed it clean, but the mark bled back through the paint hours later. My phone camera glitched every time I pointed it at the wall. The reflection in the window showed a faint outline behind me, tall, hooded. When I turned around, nothing. Just cold air. I started reading again. I couldn't help it. The second chapter was titled "The Light and the Shadow." It spoke about the architect who shaped men from darkness. The words burned into my mind. The candle beside me flickered, though there was no draft. For a moment, I thought I saw a face in the flame smiling faintly, proud. I told myself I was imagining things. Each night I read, the house felt heavier. The clocks ticked slower. The air thickened like the world was holding its breath. I marked the pages I read, but when I returned, the marks vanished. New verses appeared where blank margins used to be. One line kept repeating. To find light, one must first offer their own. I didn't understand it. Not yet. I stopped sleeping properly. Every sound felt amplified. The ticking clock, the creak of wood, my own heartbeat. The book seemed to breathe on its own. I tried sealing it again, but by morning it was always out, sitting on the table like it wanted to be read. I thought about throwing it away, but some part of me whispered that it wouldn't let me. I didn't even know what that meant. On the 7th night, I woke up to find every light in the house off except one. The study door was open, though I'd locked it. The book lay open on the floor, a candle burning beside it, one I never lit. The flame moved like it was alive, bending toward me. I stared at the words on the page. They glowed faintly red, forming a sentence that hadn't been there before. It said, "Brother, your light is near." I don't know why, but I whispered back, asking what that meant. The candle flickered hard, and a low sound came from the corner like breathing, but deeper, slower. I couldn't move. My throat went dry. When I blinked, the candle was out, the room pitch black. I stood there in silence, trying to convince myself it was a dream. Days blurred together after that. I stopped going out. My phone barely worked inside the house. I'd read a line, and then hours would disappear. Once, I looked up and saw sunlight through the window, but the clock still showed 3 a.m. I don't remember sleeping or eating. I only remember reading. The more I read, the more I felt watched, like something behind the words was waiting. The 3rd chapter was different. It wasn't text, it was a diagram. A circle, surrounded by symbols I'd never seen, with a phrase beneath, "Through offering, light returns." The page smelled of metal, and for a second, I thought I saw it pulse like something beneath it was moving. I slammed the book shut. The symbol burned faintly through the cover, glowing like hot iron. That night, I woke to find the same circle drawn on my floor in ash. My hands were black, covered in soot. I tried washing them, but the smell lingered, like burnt paper and oil. When I checked the mirror, I swear my pupils looked wider too wide. My reflection felt delayed, almost like it wasn't me anymore. I didn't tell anyone. Who would even believe it? The next few days, whispers filled every corner of the house. Sometimes they sounded like prayers, other times like laughter. I caught faint words in Latin, though I didn't know the language. The book always seemed slightly open, no matter how I closed it. One evening, the whisper spoke clearly, "The 33rd gate awaits." My stomach dropped. I knew what that number meant. I looked it up, 33 degrees of Freemasonry. The final level, the last gate. It couldn't be coincidence. I flipped through the book again, heart pounding. The final chapter wasn't numbered. It was blank, except for one line. Only one with light may enter. The page was cold to the touch. I could feel a faint vibration under my fingers, like a heartbeat. I don't remember deciding to do it, but somehow I ended up following the diagram from chapter 3. I placed the book in the center of the ash circle and lit 3 candles. The moment I did, the air shifted dense, electric, like a storm inside the walls. The flame bent toward the pages, and every symbol began to glow. The whisper returned, clearer than ever before. It said my voice, my own voice, repeating my thoughts out loud. The room spun, shadows crawling along the walls, shapes moving where there was nothing. The book flipped open by itself, showing a line I hadn't seen before. The light has found its vessel. I screamed, but the sound didn't come out. Only silence and a faint echo that didn't belong to me. The silence was worse than the whispers. The room felt hollow, drained. I tried running outside, but the door wouldn't open. It wasn't locked. It just wouldn't move. I pounded on it until my hands hurt. Behind me, the pages turned slowly, one after another, though no wind blew. Each turn sounded heavier, like each page carried a heartbeat. The last one stopped halfway open. There was something written across both pages now. Not words, but symbols that seemed alive. They shimmered faintly, as if burning beneath the surface. I stepped closer, and the lines moved, shifting to form an image. It looked like a face staring back, carved out of light and shadow. Its mouth opened, and though it didn't move, I heard the words clearly inside my head. Brother of the light. That's what it called me. The air thickened until I could barely breathe. I stumbled backward, knocking over a candle. The flame died instantly, yet the room stayed lit by the book's glow. My reflection in the window no longer matched my movements. It was smiling, slowly, deliberately. I turned away, refusing to look again. I didn't want to know. When I woke up, I was on the floor. My head throbbed, my throat dry. The book was gone. The ash circle had disappeared, as if it never existed. I searched every corner of the room, nothing. Just silence and the faint smell of wax. For a brief moment, I thought it was over. But that feeling didn't last long. Not when I saw what was waiting in the mirror. There was writing on the glass, faint, as if drawn by a fingertip from inside. It said, "The light remains." I wiped it away, but the letters came back seconds later. I turned the mirror toward the wall, but that didn't help. Every reflective surface in the house windows, screens, even the kettle showed that same line. It followed me, whispering itself in my head until nightfall. I began to hear knocking inside the walls, slow and deliberate. 3 taps, pause, then 3 more. I'd move to another room, and it would start again, always behind me. One evening, I pressed my ear against the plaster and heard breathing. Faint, human. I whispered, "Who's there?" But the answer wasn't a voice. It was a laugh, soft, echoing through the wood like water. The book came back 3 nights later. It was lying on my bed, the cover warm to the touch. No dust, no burn marks, as if it never left. I didn't open it, but I could feel something moving beneath the leather, like the pages were restless, shifting against each other. A symbol was burned into the cover now, a compass within a circle, glowing faintly gold. I wrapped it in cloth and took it outside. I didn't care where, I just wanted it gone. I drove until the road ended, found an empty field, and buried it deep. I poured salt over the soil and walked away without looking back. For the first time in weeks, I felt air move freely again. I slept that night without dreams. It almost felt normal. Almost. The next morning, there was dirt on my shoes. The same color as the soil I'd buried the book in. I hadn't left the house. When I checked the living room, something heavy was on the table. My stomach turned before I even saw it. The book, the same cloth, still tied, covered in mud. The ground hadn't rejected it, it had brought it back. The pages were blank when I opened it. Every single one, pure white except the final sheet. There, in shaky handwriting, was a single line. "The light does not need your permission." I felt something crawl up my spine. I dropped the book and ran for the door, but the handle burned my hand. The air shivered like heat, and a whisper filled the room again. The whisper surrounded me this time, coming from everywhere at once. It didn't sound human anymore. It was layered, deep, like hundreds of voices speaking through one throat. "You opened the gate," it said. "Now you keep it." The book rose slightly off the floor, the pages turning faster and faster until they blurred into a solid wall of light that swallowed the room whole. I woke up outside, lying on the cold ground. The sky was pale gray, the air heavy with ash. My house was silent, every window black. Inside, the furniture was gone. Only the book remained, resting on the floor in the center of the room. It looked older now, edges frayed, cover cracked deeper. I didn't touch it. I just stared, waiting for it to move first. The floor beneath the book pulsed like a heartbeat. The wood softened, breathing. I could hear whispers beneath it, hundreds of them chanting in a language I couldn't understand. The sound crawled into my chest until it felt like my ribs were vibrating. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The book opened by itself, pages flipping until the final one stopped. This page wasn't paper. It looked like skin translucent, veins faintly visible. Words appeared slowly across it, forming in black ink that smelled like blood. "You are the 33rd." My vision blurred. I tried stepping back, but my feet felt locked in place. The book's glow grew brighter, warm at first, then burning. I couldn't tell if it was light or fire consuming the room. When the glow faded, the house was filled with smoke. The walls were covered in symbols, carved deep as if by claws. Each line pulsed faintly, breathing in rhythm with my heartbeat. I stumbled outside and vomited onto the grass. The night sky above me flickered the stars, forming a pattern that looked like the same compass from the book. I didn't look long. For days, nothing made sense. Time folded. Hours vanished between blinks. Sometimes I'd wake standing instead of lying down. Once, I saw my reflection in a window, though I wasn't near it. It blinked before I did. The house smelled of burnt wax and old paper. Somewhere, faint chanting still echoed, always from rooms that weren't there yesterday. I stopped checking. I thought about leaving for good. I packed a bag and walked toward the road, but every direction led back to the same place. I could see the house no matter where I went, like the world had folded around it. At dusk, the windows glowed softly from inside, though I hadn't lit anything. The glow formed that same triangle of light I saw in my first dream. I waited until sunrise, but dawn never came. The sky just turned darker, heavier, like clouds were choking the horizon. The book was on my porch again, pages fluttering though there was no wind. It opened to a new page one that hadn't existed before. There was a drawing of a human figure surrounded by symbols. Its eyes were hollow. Its hands were open, waiting. Beneath the drawing, the line read, "The vessel accepts." I slammed the cover shut, but my hands burned where they touched it. The skin blistered instantly, leaving faint symbols etched into my palms, the same ones from the margins. I washed them under cold water, but the marks didn't fade. When I looked closer, I realized they were moving, rotating slowly. I tried one last thing. I carried the book to the forest miles away and set it on a stone. I poured fuel over it, struck a match, and watched the fire catch. For a moment, relief filled me. Then the flames literally froze in midair, blue and motionless. The fire died without smoke, leaving the book untouched. It lay open, showing only one word: stay. I ran. I don't remember how long or how far. When I finally collapsed, I was back at my door. The house looked older, darker. The wood warped like it had aged decades overnight. Through the window, I saw the book resting where it always was. The whispers had stopped. Everything was silent again. But the silence felt like it was listening, waiting.